Welcome everyone. I want to warmly welcome you to the Cosmic Sky Podcast. I'm Everett Cardy, your host of this podcast, and today I'm going to be discussing Mars in Capricorn in the birth chart. What it means. This is a placement that I didn't get to because back in December, when I planned upon filming it, I wasn't feeling very, very good. Back in December when I filmed this video, I had some health issues, and so my mind wasn't in it at all. So I kind of filmed a little bit of it, just a 4-minute video or something, and didn't really make a big deal about it. And then right after that, I filmed a video that I would be leaving YouTube. Goodbye, I'm not coming back. Well, I did come back. And now I'm producing the best content of my entire life. So, before I get into what I want to discuss today, I really want to shout this from the rooftops of what I want to do on this channel. Know this. When I get to over 1,000 subscribers on this channel, then I am going to keep everything free. All my videos, all my content free. So is everything on Spotify free. Let me be perfectly honest. If I wasn't a compassionate person, I would have a membership and I would charge for videos. I find it so much better if you monetize for your content, but the videos are free. Okay? So I want to ensure that as many people see these videos as possible, no matter how popular I get. I find channel memberships, to be cutting down the number of people who can actually see your videos. And why would you need to have a channel membership if you're monetizing for your content and it's free? It's like, I don't get that at all. And so I disapprove of when creators have channel memberships and they charge for their videos. So I'm going to say, because I'm guilty of doing the exact opposite of this in my life, it is not my business to poke and prod anyone about why they do what they do, but I will be a compassionate person, and I will make my videos free. That's what I will do. So that's what I want to say right off the bat. Now, I want to get into Mars in Capricorn today. This placement, let's talk about it. Mars is the planet of action and assertion and drive. It is what fuels you to wake up out of bed in the morning and make things happen in your life. It is an activation energy. It is activation. It is all of this gas that you are pouring into your vehicle that is making it run so effectively. Mars is how we fight. Mars is how we show up. Mars is how we assert ourselves in our life. So, with Mars in the sign of Capricorn, Mars in Capricorn is the sign that represents, there's this need with Mars in Capricorn needs to feel like they are keeping themselves in control of every little aspect of their lives and what they do. Every little aspect of their lives with what they decide to do. So they're very, very, very in control. They go their own way, do their own thing. For that matter, I won't get in other people's business in my life. They live their own life. They can do their own thing. I'll do my thing. Scorpio North Nodes, listen up. Mind your own business. You don't need to get involved in other people's business and all the psychological motivations that they're going on and all those kind of things. Like, you don't need to do it. You don't need to get involved in what other people are doing. Just don't. Because we really have to understand the boundaries of where we are coming from. That knowing what is and isn't our business. And Mars in Capricorn knows what its business is. It knows what its business is. So, Mars in Capricorn wants to keep itself in control of its own life. I've got that out of my system. Let's circle right back to Mars in Capricorn. It wants to be in control. Wants to be in control. That's the most important thing with Mars in Capricorn. Is the need for control. That's very, 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 very important with Mars in Capricorn. Because if they're not in control, they don't feel like their life isn't really going anywhere. They don't feel like they're moving up in the world. They don't feel like they're ascending. They don't feel like they're evolving. They don't feel like they're growing. Needing to be in control constantly over their own destiny, over their own life. There's this real need here. And if they're not, then they'll fight for it. But anyway. When it has a plan that it wants to see through, because Capricorn is the goal setter. It's the planner. It's the one who maps everything out and gets every ball rolling in the park. Capricorn has strategy, it has a plan, and it will be in its power with that plan. It will be fully empowered to go in the direction that it seeks to go in with whatever plan, whatever strategy it has, as I said before. So there's a lot of patience with Capricorn. A lot of patience that comes in with the sign of Capricorn. Where they will pursue the goals that they set out for themselves. And they are willing to understand that, guess what? It's a marathon and not a sprint. A marathon, not a sprint. That is a real Capricorn saying. It is willing to be patient and stick it out for the long term. For the whole of it. It is willing to be very, very patient and steadfast in its actual delivery of going from point A to point B. So, they have a lot of patience. That's the Capricorn quality. It knows instinctually that things don't take overnight. That you can't rush things, that you can't rush processes, that you can't do all this stuff. It doesn't take overnight. It takes maybe weeks, it takes maybe months, it takes maybe years, it takes all these kind of things. So that is what I want to say with that. They strategize and plan very, very, very carefully. They create these plans to achieve their goals, which are very, very well mapped out in their lives. And I'm going to talk about another point when it comes to actually following through with the plan that makes it very, very top-notch later in this video, and you're going to find out what that secret is. But anyway, they're disciplined. They're disciplined. They have stick-it-to-itness. They have the discipline to just go all in, go full force into that plan. They have the discipline. They understand that, hey, if I want to get to one point to another, I have to be focused and determined and willing to put in the work and show up every day to make it happen. That's what they're all about. They are all about what is in it for the long term, because they want something long term. They want something that long lasting. They're not interested in short-term gains, short-term objectives, short-term plans, or whatever. They want what is in the long term to actually occur in their lives. They're very, very ambitious. They have a lot of drive, a lot of motivation to really, really make big things happen in their lives. That's a huge quality with them. They're all about accomplishing challenges. Capricorn is the challenge achiever. Wants to see challenges through to completion. Accomplishing challenges means that they see the real picture, the full picture, and they're like, you know what, I want to put a little bit of zest in this area, a little bit of motivation, a little bit of chutzpah in this area when it comes to actually having a challenge of something that I want to achieve, like a goal, and actually committing to it fully. They want to build something important. They want to build something on solid ground. And they want to be recognized for their goals. There was this intense need with Mars and Capricorn to be recognized for every little goal that they have. Because Capricorn is a sign of recognition. It's a sign of status, reputation. So it's very, very important for Capricorns to get that back. Get that, the recognition back, like, hey, you are doing a good thing. Sort of the flow of the energy exchange from one to another between, I put forth my effort and I am getting back recognition for that effort. So they plan things very, very well, and they complete something after everyone else has given up. They are driven. They will do it to the ends of the earth. They will do it even if everybody else has given up on it. So that's something important to know about this place. But now, another thing. Authority, in this case, comes from the position that you have in society. Comes from that very, very special, sacred position that they want to own, that they want to be in a position of authority. They want to be living in authority. They want to be projecting from authority. That's what they want to be. That's what they want to be, is authority. An authority figure over their own lives, having the autonomy over their own lives. They strongly believe in position in society, as well as how expert you are. They say, if you're good at something, know it. Be an expert on it. Be very, very knowledgeable on it. Be the person that others can sort of flock to when they need guidance or knowledge or wisdom or guidance or, did I repeat that word? All that kind of thing. So they want others to come to them for their knowledge. They also want to create something valuable. All about creating something of lasting value to the world. That's really, what they are all about. Is creating something of value. Something that has a lot of weight, something that has a lot of substance. That's what they want to build in this world. They want to be their own authority figure and boss over their life. That's very, very key with Mars and Capricorn, is to be an authority. It's to lead their own life. To be in charge of your own destiny. To be creating your own destiny. To be creating your own life. You understand the importance of delayed gratification if you have Mars and Capricorn. Well, what does this mean? It means that you are willing to sacrifice a certain moment that is not so positive for something later on. You are willing to not, you understand, those experiments where children sit down and they're asked to wait for 2 cupcakes, or they're also asked to eat 1 cupcake. And whichever children doesn't eat the 1 cupcake and waits for 2, that shows that they have more patience and discipline and willing to not make themselves suffer, but hold off for something much better later on. So that is what we have to understand about Mars and Capricorn. It says very much about that delayed gratification. It's really, really huge. You keep your promises low. That's what you think. You are very, very realistic, Mars and Capricorn. You keep your promises very, very low, but you understand that your actions speak louder than your words. So, what you do is you promise very, very little, and what you deliver is a whole mountain of things. You deliver all these kind of things with what you want to deliver in your own personal life, with what you want to do, how you want to live your life, and basically, if you promise something, you make sure to deliver on it. You overachieve. Capricorn is the overachiever. They will give it 110% of their time and energy into what they do. So, they are a rock of reliability. They are a rock of reliability. They can be counted on to make things happen. Others can depend on them when their work needs to be done. If there's something that has to be done, Mars and Capricorn is on. They will get it done. They will see it through, all of that. So, that's something very huge. When it comes to anger, Capricorn is not like a short temper, short fuse Mars and Aries. It has anger, but it's slow to build up. It's slow. It builds slowly. And then when it just boils over, when that volcano just, is just about to erupt, it then, comes out. But it's not just, oh, I'm so reactive. Capricorn doesn't react, it responds. It's a very, very responsible, mature sign. You carefully plan, think very, very strategically, and you're very determined to get from one point to another. There's a deep determination with this placement. You want to outlast others. You want to outdo others. You want to be the best at whatever you do. At the absolute best you can be. You want to strengthen your own position in society with what you decide to put forth in your life. And what do you do to strengthen your position? That's up to you. You don't do things unless you are sure that they can be done effectively. They can be done well. That's how you do things. So you don't do something unless you know you're going to do it well. But you're not willing to invest all of your time and your energy into doing something if you're not going to succeed at it. If you're not going to do it, if it's not going to work out, if it's not going to pan out, if the efforts and the results are not going to pay off, then you're not going to worry about doing it. Because you're very, very discerning, about what you want to do and what you don't want to do, and what isn't worth it for you to do. You're all about being objective. Capricorn's very, very objective, very pragmatic. They are very, very critical. Very, very critical. There's a skepticism with Capricorn. You're very skeptical. When you assert yourself, when you get into something, when you get into a job, do all that, you're very, very skeptical about it. You don't just go into anything. You determine, like, oh, does this align with my values? Oh, is this practical? Is it going to deliver me to the promised land of all my career goals? Is this going to, all these things all these factors that it considers before actually going into whatever it does. Whereas in Capricorn believes in training somebody or, whoever, in order training themselves to be very, very good at something. If you were to practice piano, you would just go on the piano and just play a piece of Beethoven, right away. Like, it would take years to practice that skill. Years to practice playing piano. Dedication, time, discipline. And that is how you achieve excellence. It's fair for everybody. If you only actually put your play into the world, putting the work in to make it happen. That's a Capricorn piece of wisdom right there. is if you are in your life, you are showing that you are co-creating with what feels right and putting in the work. That's Capricorn. It's the manifesting energy. So they believe in divine timing. They believe in, the right time. They'll wait for the right time. They'll do things at the right time. They'll wait things out. They'll plan things out. They'll think about things. They'll consider things. And they're comfortable when they lead their lives. When they lead their lives, they are so comfortable. Because it gives them a sense of empowerment. It gives a sense of control about their lives. They want to be independent. And they are willing to take on challenges entirely by themselves. They're not wanting others to, come in and do it for them or help them out. Like, they want to show how capable and how strong and how empowered they are by doing it themselves. Whereas the Capricorn understands that good strategy, here's the secret that I was mentioning earlier. Capricorn is not rigid in its structures and in its plans because it knows that in order to actually achieve something successful in long-term life on life's terms, it knows this. So it will maintain structures and strategies that are flexible, that have flexibility in them, that have, flexibility with whatever that they are doing. That they are flexible. Because they're all about that. They're all about, they're all about something long-lasting. And they want to create the best structures possible, so they have to be flexible if that's the case. So they'll only do things when they know they'll succeed at them. I've already covered that. Now, they're also very, very resilient. Very, very resilient indeed. They are so resilient. They are so strong that they are knowledgeable about the challenges of life. They're very, very ingrained with all those challenges that life has to give, the cards that you have been dealt with in life. And they understand that, you know what? You can't choose the cards, but you can choose what you do with it. It's like, here is what you were given. What are you going to do with it? Here's the piece of music that you were instructed to play. How are you going to play it? It's just like your astrology. It's like, we have control over our own lives. We don't have control over, our charts, but we do have control over how we engage with the astrology, of how we embody the astrology, of how we co-create our lives with the astrology as a guide and as a map. Like, Pam Gregory, how, she talks about in her first book, You Don't Believe in Astrology, Do You? You can play in a street band, or you can play, the London Philharmonic. It's kind of like, you get to choose how you play the music. Astrology is just a shade of music. So, they understand that, going back to this point about pain, that, that life gives you pain. Like, there is pain in life. And, they respond very, very well to suffering. They respond to all the suffering that goes on, with what they've been dealt with. And responding, not reacting. And really knowing how to manage suffering and really, really being resilient. They believe in being, resilient. Being able to go through adversity, being able to endure through the very hard challenges, and you gain strength and wisdom through that. Not necessarily physical, but mental, emotional strength. They feel it's necessary to have control and power of things and in their lives at all times. There's this need to be in control of their lives at all times with Mars and Capricorn. Capricorn's cardinal signs is this need to be in control. I'm in Aries, I'm a cardinal sign. It's very, very, Aries and Capricorn are two signs, and, I have a family member who is a Capricorn stellium. So, there is this need to be in control, to be the leader of the band, to be this over the physical, three-dimensional realm. And so, there's this dynamic going on here. They are controlled in expressing their emotions. That's who they are. And that's how they are. They're not going to just spill out their guts and just gush over, all these emotions and just, weep and cry and, do all this. Like Capricorn is a very, very controlled, put together sign. I spoke about this on the June astrology videos yesterday. How, it's about like being responsible for your feelings. And feeling them well, yet not having to give in to the negative vibrations of these emotions. Yes, feeling them, but not having to live out that story, not having to express and be in the negativity, I think that Capricorn is very, very positive in that way because it chooses like, hey, there's something better to do with my time and energy. There's something more productive to do. There's something more, for my highest good to do than to wallow and to be in the negative vibrations of whatever I'm feeling. So they're very, very controlled in these things. And so there's a silence here with wanting to keep things private. Wanting to keep control and power, not just spilling everything out, but keeping certain things lock and key. Keeping information in a safe, controlled place rather than just sharing it out. I talked about this with Jupiter and Capricorn. If you want to see that, if you're interested in this, I highly recommend you go back to the March 21st podcast episode and hear what I have to say about Jupiter and Capricorn, because I think that you'll find that one really, really interesting if you like this one. So, they're usually very, very successful. Very, very, very successful. And they have a lot of power. They have a strong trident of, fire that is lit, that's very, 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 very powerful. So, they want to ensure success. They want to make sure that things are, that work out very, very well. I already covered that very, very easily. They can easily see things through to completion. Seeing things through to completion. They're all about wanting things to be for the long term. They know the meaning of perseverance. They know the meaning of sticking out something, even though there's challenges, even though there's obstacles, even though there's things preventing you from actually growing and being productive and all that. Like, they will stick it out. They will gladly stick it out. With whatever that they are doing. They will persevere through that. They will persevere through those challenges, through those obstacles, through, whatever really, that goes on. So, strength is actually something that they understand is built up over time. Strength is like this, where, to be strong it's like a muscle. Do you just suddenly go to the gym and become all flexible, the first day? No, you don't. No, you don't. It takes time and practice and work to build those muscles up. So in this reality, this is the way that it works. And so strength to be strong within yourself, it doesn't come, it takes time and it takes work to build up those muscles. And this is something that Capricorn gets very, very easily. They understand quality over quantity. This is huge. Quality over quantity. Huge. Where they would rather do less and do it better and do it really, really well and devote their time and energy to making a few things very well than just do a lot of stuff that's just mediocre, somewhat, good. So that's what they believe. The more about less is more, quality over quantity, that kind of belief. It will put in, Mars and Capricorn will put in the work to make something the best it can be. The best it can be. Pursuing excellence. Mars and Capricorn is after pursuing excellence. So here's the thing though with Mars and Capricorn, is it can be a little bit serious. Well, just a little. And Capricorn, don't become a hustler. Don't stop the hustling tendencies and just focus on the present moment in your life. Focus on the joy and the fun of life. Going to see friends, going to watch movies, going to do all these kind of things that you have, preparing a good meal, doing all these, the fun, more spontaneous moments of life. Those spontaneous moments that we all live in and enjoy in our lives. Spontaneity is really, really huge. With this being liberated to do things without planning, with being free, with being open-minded to try new things. Like Mars and Capricorn be so stick in the mud, doing the same thing over and over again, very, very conventionally, that it's afraid to, it's good to, have fun and not be so serious all the time. So, and then accepting the imperfections of things. This is huge. This is huge. Because this need to make everything the best it can be, that, you can only, you only have so much power. Being humble enough to know your limitations, that just you can try to perfect and make things the best that they can be, but a lot of things are going to be imperfect. And it's about adapting to changing circumstances. Adapting to the circumstances that change, that move around, that fluctuate, that, alter, really. So, it's really about, looking at these changing circumstances and saying, how can I make this more manageable for myself? How can I live a more manageable life with accepting that I can do a lot, but there are just some imperfections of things. So that's really, really huge. And, it's also about, don't forget about the journey. Okay, it's not always about the prize at the end and the main goal, like that is part of it, but who do you become in the process? What do you learn? How do you grow from in the process of getting to one point and then another point? That's really, really key for Capricorn energy, is to not forget the actual climbing up the mountain and not just being so driven to reach the summit of it. That is huge. That is very, very, very huge. And when it feels out of control, it will not accept that. It will not accept being out of control. It will fight back for control really, really hard. It will do a lot to fight back for control. So Mars and Capricorn will not accept feeling disempowered. They need to be in control. They need to be very, 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 very in control. And, I'm giving you permission to be in control, but not to be in control in a burdened way. it is very, very empowering to realize that, you know what? Surrender is a strength. Yes, be control and be empowered, but know when to be flexible and when to surrender to what you cannot change. That saying, the serenity prayer, God grant me the serenity to accept what I can't, can't not change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Like, that serenity prayer is so important for Capricorn and for those with strong Mars energy in their charts. To understand. And I think, Mars retrograde is also a huge period for that thing as well. That serenity prayer and affirmation, with being willing to change what you can, but knowing, okay, I don't have control over this. So that's also really, really huge. And then, okay. And you have the right to control your life, Mars in Capricorn. So control isn't based on anxiety, fear, sadness, jealousy, nervousness, or any other negative emotion. Okay, Mars in Capricorn, you need to hear me when I say this. I'm going to break it to you, so listen to me. If you have Mars in Capricorn, write down in the comments if you believe in vulnerability as a strength, because I want to know. I want to know if you believe this, because what I have here is that Mars in Capricorn doesn't want to be vulnerable to someone else. To somebody else. They don't want to, just share their problems onto others in their life. Where you don't have to hide in, your feelings. You can share, and it's being authentic and being, sharing your real feelings and not being afraid of being judged or being, hurt or, whatever for sharing these feelings. So, that is really, really huge with this. And no, final thing I want to say here is that when they say they'll get it done, they'll do it. They'll do it. And they'll do it in their own time and in their own way. You can count on them to follow through with whatever they say. They believe if you're going to say something, if you're going to promise something, deliver. Do it. Make it happen. Show up. Be consistent. Do the work. This is Capricorn. Very, very comfortable with how this 3D reality works. So, and they do it in their own time, in their own way. But they do it on their own terms, and that's how they live their life, is, again, controlling their own destiny, shaping their own destiny, creating their own destiny. Okay, that is today's episode of the Cosmic Sky Podcast. It was a slightly shorter one today. If you want to check out your June horoscopes, then I did the videos yesterday. If you want to check that out, tomorrow I want to do another catch-up video. The Moon in Leo. I want to talk about the Moon in Leo very, very in depth. In tomorrow's episode, going really, really deep into that. Wednesday will be another catch-up video. And then I'll do the Blue Moon, Full Moon, and Sagittarius videos on Thursday and Friday. I can't wait to get to those videos because I feel like there's going to be a lot to discuss with the themes of Gemini and Sagittarius. Because there's a lot, they're really grab bags of signs. So I will be discussing that, that energy later on this week. So tune in for those videos coming out to your neighborhood very, very soon. I do this on Thursday and Friday. And then, So, and then if you're on my YouTube channel, I do shorts every day with the different transits. Today I did one on Sun Sextile Neptune, so you want to check that out. I also do live streams every now and then talking about the astrology every, couple weeks or so. I get on and do live streams on my YouTube channel. And then any other content that I have going on this channel, on my YouTube channel, and if you're following me on Spotify, then know that I won't post the vulnerable stuff and the personal stuff on Spotify because I just don't feel like it's very appropriate to do that. So it is on my YouTube channel. It is in separate podcasts. I wanted to make this podcast separate. I didn't want to, I put, back in February I did an episode, personal episode in this podcast. It was like, I just got rid of it. I actually got rid of it from YouTube. I took it down because it was like, this should not go here. But so I just, good thing I did that because that opened up the door for me to open up the Real Me podcast. So I'll update that every now and then. That's just my second podcast. This is my main, my main content is in this podcast. So anyway, thank you for listening, tuning in. I will see you tomorrow or next time whenever you tune in to me again. I hope to see you again. Bye for now.